Rome was an empire built on power, ambition, and an obsession with beauty. But behind the breathtaking art lay a deeper truth. Was money, influence, and silent control. This story begins long before emperors rose and fell. It begins with the families who shaped Rome's wealth from the shadows. For centuries, they hid their fortunes behind marble, mosaic, and myth. Today, we uncover that hidden world. This is the untold story of Rome's wealthiest families. Rome was not just a city of soldiers. It was a city where art decided power, where sculptures acted as bank vaults, where mosaics carried political messages, and where temples were investment portfolios disguised as worship. Every stone in Rome whispered the name of a family who paid for it, and every payment bought a piece of the empire. To understand Rome's wealth, we must step inside their villas. These were not homes. They were financial statements carved in marble. A villa on the Palatine Hill was worth more than entire towns. Its walls glowed with frescoes imported from Greece. Columns of rare Numidian marble announced the owner's status, and every sculpture inside served a purpose beyond decoration. A statue was an investment, a political signal, a silent weapon. Wealthy Roman families used art to say what they could never speak aloud. We are powerful. We are cultured. We deserve to rule. The elite families like the Claudii, the Cornelii understood this better than anyone. They poured fortunes into artists, architects, and stonecutters. But they did not do it for beauty alone. They did it because art multiplied their wealth. A beautifully crafted statue could raise the value of an entire estate. A mosaic in a public bathhouse could earn political loyalty. A temple funded by a wealthy family guaranteed their influence for generations. Art was Rome's most subtle currency. Many believe Rome's power came from its legions. The truth is far more complex. Soldiers won battles, but wealthy families funded the wars. They supplied armor, food, horses, and silver. In return, they received land, contracts, and political favors. Their art-filled homes were not mere luxuries. They were evidence of that investment. Rome's elite understood that war created opportunity, and art preserved the memory of the victory. Step into one of their dining rooms. The triclinium, the floor shines, with a mosaic of an African lion. It is not just art. It hints at the family's trade connections with Africa. On the wall, a fresco shows a Greek myth. This signals education, refinement, and high status. Every visitor reads these messages instantly. In Rome, you did not need to speak to show power. Your walls spoke for you. The wealthy also used art to rewrite history. Families paid sculptors to carve their ancestors as heroes. They filled their atriums with busts that exaggerated virtue. These stone faces shaped public memory. When citizens walked into the forum, they saw marble reminders of who controlled the city. It was propaganda beautiful, silent, and effective. The most expensive artworks came from Greece. After Rome conquered Greek cities, thousands of sculptures flooded the empire, but the richest families competed for the rarest pieces. A single Greek statue could cost more than a warship, and owning one proved that your family had both wealth and intellectual taste. Rome admired Greek culture deeply. Collecting Greek art became a symbol of elite identity. It separated old money from new. But some families went further. They built private galleries, rooms filled with bronze portraits, marble gods, and intricate reliefs. These galleries were used to impress allies and intimidate rivals. Deals worth millions of sesterces were sealed inside these artistic chambers. Art influenced decisions that shaped the future of Rome. Even Roman coins carried hidden messages. Wealthy families who funded government campaigns were rewarded with their symbols on currency. A coin might show a temple they built, or a myth linked to their ancestry. Coins circulated across the empire, and with every transaction, their family name traveled further. This was advertising to 2,000 years before the modern billboard. Behind all this stood a secret financial network. Bankers, goldsmiths, art dealers, and architects formed an invisible web. They helped wealthy families convert art into political leverage. They moved money through auctions, estate sales, and temple donations. They protected fortunes from taxation, and they ensured that art remained the safest way to store wealth. Rome's elite lived in a world where marble meant power, where sculpture could start a political career, where a temple could secure loyalty, and where beauty itself became a form of currency. This was the empire hidden beneath the empire. The world of families who ruled Rome long before him, and their story is only beginning. To understand Rome's hidden wealth, we must travel into the workshops where beauty was born. These workshops were the engines of the empire's silent economy. Inside them, chisels rang like coins. Marble dust floated through the air like powdered silver, and every strike of a hammer added value to a family's fortune. Roman sculptors were not mere artists, they were financial assets. The wealthiest families fought over the best of them. A single talented sculptor could raise a villa's value by thousands of dinars, and his signature on a statue could change political fortunes overnight. Marble arrived from across the Mediterranean. Caravans hauled it from the quarries of Greece, Turkey, and North Africa. The rarest stones, Barian, Pentelic, Numidian were worth more than gold. Only the elite could afford them. And so marble itself became a status symbol. A home built with common stone whispered modesty. A home filled with foreign marble shouted power. The Claudi owned entire quarries. Their stones filled temples and theaters across Rome. Every time a new building rose, their wealth grew. They did not need soldiers. Their armies were architects, masons, and sculptors. Through them, they conquered the empire. Economically, they proved that power comes not only from swords, but from stones. Inside Rome, the art market was a battlefield of its own. Auctions were crowded with senators, merchants, and foreign ambassadors. Everyone searched for works that could elevate their status. Prices soared when two rival families wanted the same sculpture. Some pieces sold for sums equal to a general's entire fortune, and each purchase sent shockwaves through political circles. The sculpture was never just a sculpture. It was a declaration of superiority. Greek originals were the most prized. After Rome conquered Greece, thousands of artworks were taken as war spoils. But the masterpieces, those sculpted by Lysippos, Praxiteles, and Polykleitos, became the jewels of elite collections. Owning a true Greek statue meant owning a piece of cultural immortality. It also created a divide between families with old money and those with new fortunes. New wealth could buy marble. Old wealth owned history. Some families even commissioned faked Greek sculptures. They hired expert Roman sculptors trained in Greek styles. These pieces looked authentic, felt authentic, and carried Greek beauty, and yet they were Roman down to the last chisel mark. These subtle forgeries filled private galleries. Only experts could tell the difference. But for the elite, it didn't matter. What mattered was the illusion of heritage. Rome was built on illusions, beautiful, powerful illusions. Private galleries became stages for political theater. A visitor might be guided past a heroic statue first, then through a hallway of mythological reliefs, then into a room glowing with imported marble. By the time they reached the dining room, they had absorbed the message. This family has taste. This family has power. This family deserves influence. Art delivered these messages more effectively than speeches. Even the arrangement of statues mattered. A bust of an ancestor placed beside a Greek philosopher implied wisdom in the family line. A sculpture of Hercules implied strength. A relief of victory implied divine favor. Every placement was strategic. The wealthy curated their galleries like generals planning a campaign. They used beauty as a weapon. Art also controlled public opinion. Wealthy families donated sculptures to temples and forums. This won them popularity. A citizen might forget a law, but never a monument. Public art created loyalty that elections could not buy. A family's name carved into stone lasted longer than any political ally. Some families even manipulated religion through art. They funded temples dedicated to gods linked to their ancestry. A temple of Apollo could lift a family's reputation. A shrine to Venus could associate them with beauty and prosperity. Religion became a canvas for political engineering, and temples became monuments of economic strategy. For the elite, art was insurance. When political tides shifted, Sculptures could be moved, sold, or hidden. Wealth stored in marble could survive revolutions. Wealth stored in land or money could not. This made art the safest form of currency in ancient Rome. It was portable, it was valuable, and it was resistant to time. As Rome grew richer, competition intensified. Families tried to outbuild, outspend, and outshine each other. Villas expanded into palaces. Gardens became open-air museums. Even fountains were carved with mythological scenes. Every detail spoke of wealth, and every line of stone shaped Rome's invisible hierarchy. To see the true power of Rome's wealthiest families, we must enter the Forum. This was not just a marketplace. This was the beating heart of Roman influence. Deals were made here, wars were funded here, and reputations were sculpted here. Quite literally, statues lined every corner of the Forum. Each one told a story of victory, generosity, or divine favor. But behind each statue stood a family who paid for it. Art in the Forum was the most visible form of political advertising in the ancient world. A general returning from battle often built a triumphal arch, but few people knew that wealthy families financed these arches. Their names were carved discreetly into the foundations. Every citizen passing beneath the arch unknowingly honored them. This was influence hidden in plain sight. Stone became the language of power, and the Forum was its citywide broadcast. Even the Senate House carried artistic messages. Marble panels displayed mythological heroes. Senators sat beneath scenes of courage and wisdom. Many panels were donated by elite families. They used these gifts to shape political mood. A heroic relief could inspire bold votes. A tragic scene could steer the Senate toward caution. Art manipulated politics without saying a word. Wealthy families also targeted public bathhouses. Bathhouses were Rome's social centers. Citizens of all ranks gathered there, so families filled them with mosaics and statues. A beautiful bathhouse created a sense of loyalty. Visitors remembered the family who funded it. Some even voted for them during elections. Public art became political currency. Rome ran on marble and manipulation, but nowhere was this more visible than in temples. Temples were Rome's most sacred spaces, and sacred spaces needed beauty. Wealthy families donated altars, columns, statues, and golden ornaments. The gods appeared to favor them. Priests praised their generosity. Citizens trusted their leadership. Power flowed naturally toward those who honored the divine through art. Religion and politics were entangled by design. Behind the scenes, artists themselves became part of the political game. Sculptors received patronage contracts worth fortunes. Some artists were protected by powerful families. They created works that reinforced political narratives. The sculpture of a victorious general could rewrite a failed campaign. A portrait bust could soften the image of a corrupt senator. Artists were Rome's invisible spin doctors. Their tools shaped the empire's memory. Portraiture became the greatest weapon of all. Rome perfected the art of realistic portraits. Wrinkles, scars, and age lines were carved with precision. This realism suggested honesty and integrity, yet it was a carefully curated illusion. Portraits were altered subtly to project strength. Eyes were carved wider to show intelligence. Chins were sharpened to show determination. Hair was shaped like that of admired leaders. A single portrait could change how an entire city viewed a man. Wealthy families used portraits to dominate public spaces. Their likenesses appeared in theaters, forums, and temples. Citizens saw their faces daily. Familiarity created trust. Trust created power. Power created dynasties. These dynasties ruled Rome long before emperors ever existed. Their portraits were their strongest allies. Even funerals became political performances. Families displayed marble masks of ancestors. Actors wore these masks during the procession. The crowd saw generations of greatness walking together. It was a visual reminder of the family's legacy. Art transformed grief into propaganda. Funerals strengthened political influence, but this system also created tension. Rival families competed for the best artists, for the grandest temples, for the most impressive public monuments. Every donation increased expectations. Every sculpture raised the stakes. The Forum became an arena of artistic warfare. Beauty was no longer about beauty. It was about victory. Rome admired greatness. But Rome also demanded spectacle, and the elite delivered it in marble, mosaic, and myth. Art was their battlefield. Prestige was their prize, and the empire watched their struggle unfold in stone. To uncover Rome's hidden wealth, we must walk beyond the Forum and into the private world of the elite. Behind high walls and guarded gates lay their true power. These villas were not homes, they were kingdoms of marble and myth. Every room was a message. Every corridor, a negotiation. Every artwork, a silent contract written in stone. Step through the entrance. Halda. Atrium. Light pours through the opening in the roof. Beneath it, the floor mosaic glitters like a map of the family's fortune. Visitors stood here and judged everything. The art on the walls, the imported marble, the ancestral masks staring down from their niches. This was the family's first impression and first weapon. The atrium was designed to overwhelm. Paintings of legendary heroes covered the walls. These heroes represented strength the family claimed for themselves. Scenes of sacrifice hinted at loyalty. Scenes of victory showed destiny. Guests understood the message instantly. You are standing in the house of greatness. Beyond the atrium lay the tablinum, the family's control room. Here the master kept accounts, contracts, and political letters. But even this space was wrapped in art. Marble busts of ancestors watched over every negotiation. Their stone eyes reminded visitors that the family legacy stretched centuries. Few dared to challenge such a lineage. Art provided the intimidation the master never needed to speak aloud. The wealthy built gardens that resembled outdoor museums. Pathways wound through sculptures of gods, muses, and emperors. Fountains spilled water over carved marble basins. Bronze statues shone like living figures in the sunlight. Visitors walked in. Walk? Well, look, these gardens demonstrated mastery over nature and wealth. They were luxury made visible, and in a society obsessed with status, visibility was everything. The triclinium, the dining hall, was the stage for power. Here, guests reclined on couches facing walls painted with lavish frescoes. Banquets were orchestrated performances. Meals were opportunities to display wealth. Silver plates gleamed. Exotic spices scented the air. Musicians played beside statues of Apollo. The guests absorbed beauty with every breath. They left believing the family belonged among Rome's rulers, but the most important artworks were stored deeper inside the villa. In the Tobarne, the private galleries where only select guests were admitted. These rooms were treasure vaults of culture. Greek originals stood on polished marble pedestals. Bronze athletes gleamed in torchlight. Delicate reliefs told stories of gods and men. These collections represented not just wealth, but education. The elite used them to prove their refinement. A man with a gallery was a man of intellect. A man of intellect was worthy of leadership. Some families even kept restricted rooms. These contained the rarest and most politically sensitive pieces. Statues gifted by foreign dignitaries, portraits of rivals acquired in secret, religious artifacts too sacred for public view. Only trusted allies were shown these rooms, and seeing them was a sign of deep political confidence. Wealthy families also displayed power through luxury materials. Floors glittered with mosaics made of tiny imported stones. Ceilings painted with mythic scenes transformed rooms into heavens. Bronze doors shone like mirrors. Gold leaf lined the carved frames of paintings. Even lampstands were shaped like gods. In Rome, wealth touched every surface. Nothing ordinary was allowed inside elite walls. But the greatest power lay in libraries. Scrolls filled shelves from floor to ceiling. Works of Greek philosophers, Roman historians, scientific treatises. From Egypt, knowledge became a form of wealth. Guests who entered these libraries felt the weight of wisdom. The families who owned such collections seemed destined to lead. Books elevated prestige in ways gold never could. The elite understood one truth. Art shaped perception. Perception shaped influence. And influence shaped the empire. Their villas were not places of rest. They were engines of political power. Every visitor who entered left transformed, either inspired, intimidated, or indebted. This was how Rome truly worked through beauty, wealth, and strategic display. And behind each masterpiece stood a family rewriting history in marble. To understand how Rome became an empire, we must follow the money. And the money always leads back to the families who mastered art as power. These families were not merely patrons, they were architects of influence. They shaped taste, politics, and even morality. Through art, they wrote the empire's story in their own image. Their wealth flowed into every level of Roman life, into the temples that guarded the city, into the theaters that entertained the mass, into the monuments that captured history. But the greatest flow of wealth came from an unexpected Roman inheritance was a strategic battlefield. Fathers passed down not just money, but art collections. A villa's sculptures could double a family's fortune overnight. A single Greek masterpiece could become the crown jewel of a dynasty. And with each generation, collections grew more powerful. Some families even manipulated inheritance laws. They adopted promising young politicians. They married into declining noble houses. They merged art collections like military alliances. Beauty and bloodline formed the foundation of Rome's ruling class. But wealth alone wasn't enough. The elite needed control over culture itself. They funded writers, poets, and historians. These intellectuals repaid patronage with loyalty. They told stories that glorified their patrons. They wrote speeches that elevated their reputations. They preserved their legacy in ink and parchment. A family with both art and literature held unshakable power. They influenced how the past was remembered. They shaped how the present was understood, and they quietly guided the future. Rome's greatest victories were often crafted on scrolls long before they were won on battlefields. Art also helped elites survive crises. When political winds turned dangerous, they leveraged their collections. They loaned sculptures to temples to gain favor. They gifted mosaics to influential generals. They funded public works to soften anger. Art became a shield against downfall. Marble protected them better than legions. Even emperors were wary of these powerful families. A wealthy house could sway citizens through monuments, through galleries, through public spectacles. Influence built in stone was nearly impossible to erase. Some emperors destroyed rival artworks out of fear. Others absorbed them into imperial collections to claim their power. The battle over beauty was a battle over Rome itself. Yet the most astonishing truth is this. The empire's expansion was financed not by taxes alone, but by luxury, by mosaics, by imported marble, by rare statues. The elite invested heavily in art, because the art indirectly funded conquest. Artists needed materials. Materials required trade. Trade required fleets. Fleets required ports. Ports required diplomacy. And diplomacy required political influence. Art activated every system of the empire. In this way, beauty became an engine of Rome's global power, and the wealthiest families became its hidden operators. They turned aesthetics into economics, prestige into policy, marble into military strength. Their art shaped Rome's identity. Their spending shaped Rome's expansion. Their ambitions shaped Rome's destiny. Today, museums display the remnants of their influence. A statue standing behind glass once guarded a villa entrance. A mosaic on the floor once lay beneath the feet of senators. A marble bust once convinced citizens of a man's honor. We see them as artifacts. But in Rome, these objects were weapons, tools, investments, messages carved in stone, and yet many stories remain untold, hidden in the cracks of ancient temples, buried in collapsed villas, softened by time, yet still whispering. The whispers tell us one thing clearly. Rome was built not only by armies or emperors, but by families who mastered the art of influence. They understood that power is not seized. Power is crafted in marble, crafted in paint, crafted in the silent, everlasting language of art.